This little book here holds some secrets, and we're going to show you how to make it. Stay tuned. Greetings, adventurers, and welcome to Skilltree, where we learn how to do just about everything. So it's a tale as old as time. You're at one of these fun events, maybe it's a LARP, maybe it's a Ren fair, but you don't want to leave your phone behind. So what's one to do? Are you going to be immersion breaking by holding the piece of tech out here? Or are you going to try to explain it away as a magic box? Nay, I say! We are solving this problem today. That all rhymed way more than I meant for it to. Anyways, long story short, we're going to go ahead and make a thing to hide your phone. That's what we're doing. Real quick before we start, if you like what we're doing here, make sure you hit that like it, love, and don't forget to subscribe. It really helps out the channel. Okay, so the thought here is I want to be able to, just out in public, be able to look at my phone and do stuff with it without breaking the immersion of the people around me. So I figured the best way to do that is to dress this sucker up like a book, because then it just looks like I'm reading, like I'm fastidious of some sort. Not only that, but you can jazz it up and make it something that your character would carry, which I think is a lot of fun. And if you're not into LARPing or Ren fairs, because I know a lot of you who watch this channel aren't, I mean, this is just kind of a fun project. You can dress it up to be like anything, so I think it's kind of cool. Now, the phone in question today is my Samsung S25 Ultra, but of course you can make this fit whatever phone you're using. It's not specific to this model or whatever. To get started, I just went ahead and measured out the dimensions of my phone, so I had that written down. Okay, so you're gonna laugh at me if you've been watching this channel for a while. I'm gonna be making this thing mostly out of leather. And I know I make everything out of leather eventually, or everything at least has leather in it. But there's a good reason, because look at all of this scrap that I just have around. I'm hell-bent on making a lot of stuff out of this scrap because I hate waste, especially when it's something that came from an animal. It just doesn't feel good to waste it for me. But the cool thing about this project, you can make it out of wood, you can make it out of foam. You just do the same steps, just with not leather. It'll still come out great. There's nothing specific about this project that says you need to use leather. So first things first, I just marked out some straight lines on my leather here so I can cut a whole bunch of little panels. Now to begin with, I actually went a lot larger than I needed, probably like 1.5 inches, 2 inches past all of the sides here, just so I have the space to clean it up later once everything's been put together. I basically just cut a whole bunch of these until I had enough that would make up the thickness of my phone. And you'll notice that none of the leather is consistent, it's just whatever scraps I had, because I want this to look like pages of a book, so I don't mind that all the little striations and stuff are going to be different widths. It's just going to kind of add to that effect. But now that we have all these little panels, we need to stick them together. To do that, I first bust out some of this 80 grit sandpaper and really rough up those smooth surfaces of the leather just so that my contact adhesive has something better to grab onto. Then I laid all the pieces out, covered them in said contact adhesive, and once it's had some time to cure, just sandwiched them together. Once I had the first kind of groupings together, I added contact adhesive to those, and then sandwiched the rest of them together, giving me a nice little block of leather to work with. I also cut out one other piece of leather that's going to act as the backing to it. You see, let me get this thing out of the case here. So all the little cameras on the back of my phone are proud. They sit further out from the back, which makes it so I can't lay it flat because the cameras push it up, right? I don't want that. I want it to sit down flat. So I simply measured out the dimensions of those cameras there, then marked and cut those dimensions roughly out of a piece of leather. Doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be a space for your cameras to fit down into. This is just going to allow everything to lie nice and flat once it's in the carrier. With that all good, I just took my block of leather and I cleaned it up so that there was about 1/4 inch reveal all around the phone. Basically, we're going to cut a hollow out in that block of leather so that the phone can fit into it. But they make these things out of I swear, liquid soap or something. They will not stay put. So I ended up having to actually put this on a piece of foam and measuring it out so I can cut that out and use that for measurement. I swear, I just kept trying to put it on the leather, and as soon as I'd start to draw around it, even if I was holding it, it just would glide. It's amazing. Because they make it so that you're gonna drop it. So you have to buy another one. I could go all day about this little hobby horse of mine. Pisses me off. God, I hate that. Would it kill you to add texture to the... It's fine. We're not doing this today. Killing me. Anyways, using that piece of foam as a tool, I was able to mark out where that foam would go and then carefully cut it away with an X-Acto blade. And this worked out way better than I thought it was going to. The phone fits so snugly in that space, it was perfect. Happy that works, I was able to just add some contact adhesive to the back plate and then attach everything together. And not only does the phone fit, but it fits so snugly that I can't get it out. I actually have to push it from the back to make it come out. It's perfect. And it does so without like hitting the side buttons, which is magical. I thought I'd have to cut out a little divot for that, but it just kind of worked. All in all, it was a successful experiment, which I'm really excited about. Speaking of experiment, Maddie's actually out there running one right now with her partner in science, Max, for today's sponsor, Sunday for Dogs. There's a cute dog coming your way in 3, 2, 1.
This is my boy Max. He can be a little bit of a picky eater, so I figured he'd be perfect to help me test out this week's sponsor, Sundays for Dogs. Also, he deserves to be a star. Look at his little perfect self. Now, I've tried healthier dog foods in the past, but a lot of times it comes refrigerated or frozen. Sundays is cool in that it's air dried, so it acts like normal dog food while having all those fresh, tasty ingredients. So, after trying to get an epic shot of me opening this bag one-handed and failing, both Max and I got our first whiff of the chicken flavor. I think Max's reaction is more important.
Oh, he's getting more impatient. He wants that food. So here's the experiment. We're gonna lay out all the different flavors, including the current food they currently have, and we're gonna see which one he goes after. Here we have it. The first sniffs. Oh, he senses the familiarity of the food. But what is this? A new contender. Is it the beef? Oh, what about the chicken? Why don't you try chicken? Just the beef just smells so good to you. Oh, he's going after that chicken. Does it taste good, buddy? Oh, he likes that chicken. I feel like he's going at the chicken with a little bit more enthusiasm. And then he's going back for seconds. He gives it a look, but it's just not worth his time. That right there is a happy dog.
Not gonna lie, I expected him to like the food, but not so much he wouldn't even touch his old one. Sundays is made with human-grade ingredients, which I guess explains it. It's got 100% meat muscle, organs, superfoods, plus no synthetics, no artificial preservatives. Honestly, that's more than what I can say about my food some days.
So who is the winner? Oh, tip control, slap to the side. Ha 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 ha, chicken. And honestly, we can throw the beef in there too, because he liked it basically as much.
So give your dog a chance to try Sundays and watch them fall in love. Get 50% off your first order of Sundays at sundaysfordogs.com/skilltree or use the code skilltree at checkout. I'm pretty sure Max already fell in love.
Max, the shoot is over. I've already cleaned up everything. It's like, leave me to my meal, woman.
From here, I just cut away any of the excess from that back plate there, and then beveled up the edges on the inside of that kind of empty space, just to clean it up and make it easier to put my phone in and out of it. I also went in with this little nail file here just to make sure everything was nice and clean, because, you know, cutting in there with my X-Acto blade wasn't perfect, so getting in there with that sandpaper really helped it out. But here is exactly what I was talking about. Look at how the little striations of the leather stacked on top of each other already kind of look like pages. I think that's really cool. That said, it has that furriness that like rough leather has, and we need to fix that. So I started by just kind of wetting those edges down and then getting in there with a burnisher to smooth those out until they have this nice glossy finish. But this is when lightning struck my brain, because I really want this to look like pages, and pages are a lot thinner than those thick pieces of leather. And since this is wet anyways, I figured I can just go in with this metal brush here and give it a few passes to make some really small scratches into it. And then to really sell that paper effect, I just went in with my marking tool and made little tiny cuts to make it look like the edges of pages. And I think that really sells it. That looks really cool. I think it looks like the edges of a book that have been kind of well worn, like you've been opening it and reading it a lot. This, by the way, is when I figured out really something cool about it as well, and that I don't have to do anything special to be able to push the buttons. I can push them straight through the side because there's some flexibility there. Depending on the material you use, you might need to cut like a little section out of there so you can access your buttons, or a different material so it's squishier. It just totally worked out for me that leather can move like that. Perfect. It was also at this point though that I decided that I wasn't gonna cut a little opening for like a charger or something. Just not that important to me. I'm gonna be taking this out to charge it anyways, so I didn't want to kind of break the immersion there. So with that looking good, I just busted out some light brown dye to dye all along the inside of the piece. Then some of this white acrylic leather paint to do all the outside of the pages. This, by the way, is the same type of paint you'd use on like shoes if you were redoing white shoes, so I think it'll hold up really well. Besides, look at that. Those look like pages. I'm genuinely proud about how that came out. And the brown on the inside I think looks super classy. I really like that look. So at this point, I just cut these wooden plates here to act as front and back covers, and you can really see how book-like this is gonna be. Just as an FYI, I cut those covers so that 3 of the sides are gonna hang out past the little pages of my book about 1/4 of an inch. Just giving you that real kind of like book look with the covers coming out past the pages. You know, you've seen a book, I think. But this is where I had another thought, because not only is it a pain to carry my phone around, it's also a pain to carry my wallet around. Especially because taking it in and out of pouches and stuff, there's a real risk of losing it. Don't ask how I know, but the fear of losing a wallet when you're, I don't know, in Germany at the largest LARP in the world during a rainstorm, knowing that you're gonna need the things in that wallet to get home, it's a lot of stress. Don't do it. So I thought it'd be cool if on like the other side of that book, there'd just be a place where I can put a little bit of money and some cards. You know, a wallet. I'm explaining a wallet. I'm making a wallet, turns out. But this does leave me with an issue because I made it so that this phone fit really snugly into this space, which means that 1 card can fit in there with nothing around it before it starts to bump that cover open. But I have an easy solution to this space problem here. I just simply cut another shape like the one that the phones are sitting in to bump it up just a little bit to add that space. Once all is said and done, that's just gonna look like another page, so I'm not worried about it. This did bring up something interesting. I've been doing this show for a while now and I've done a lot of leather crafting. I've never made a wallet, never once. That's like a super beginner thing to do, I guess, but like, yeah, I've never made a wallet. That being said, I did a bunch of research and they're actually, I mean, there's a reason they're beginner projects. They're pretty easy. No shade on you wallet makers out there. They're easy to do a super basic wallet. I've seen y'all make some pretty incredible wallets that I don't think I'd be able to do either, so. Like anything, slide and scale. Anyways, basically all I had to do was make little pockets to put my cards in. To do this, I just cut a template out of paper so that there was about 1/4 of an inch reveal all around my card. As far as the space that's cut out so you can actually reach the card, turns out that doesn't matter. They come in so many different designs, some that are like a straight line with a little half moon cut out of it so your thumb can get in there. Some are just a slash, some are just a straight line. As long as it's below the top of the card and you can get it out, it works. To make said little pockets, I'm gonna be using this 2-ounce leather here because it's the thinnest one I got. I simply used that template I made to cut out the shape of my pocket, as well as a secondary little one here to hold extra, like maybe folded up money or something. All in all, I cut these 2 that are mirrors of one another, knowing that I can kind of layer them on top of each other and make it so I can hold 2 cards, as well as this little one, which is really just the bottom of the bigger ones with a tiny V cut out of it. With those ready, I just added some of that light brown dye to a piece of that 2-ounce leather to act as the backing, as well as to those pocket covers and to that little frame there that I had made. Then once that dried, I just used some double-sided tape to position everything where it should go, and was off to the sewing machine to lock it in place. This was not a lot of stitches. I totally could have hand sewed this, but I don't like hand sewing, so it was off to the machine. If you want to hand sew, you can hand sew it. It's not a big deal. Lazy, this guy. But you know what? I think that looks pretty good. For my first kind of wallet attempt, it does what it's supposed to do. It holds 2 cards and a little bit of folded up money there. That little folded up money pouch, I don't know, might not be the most useful thing. I figured having it upside down is the way it had to be because if I had it the right side up, it would have to be too close to those cards and then I'd have to fight past it to put the cards up. By flipping it over, I can put it all the way to the top and still access it. I don't usually carry a lot of paper money on me anyway, so I don't know, it worked out for me. But it's also sized right so I could actually slide like a little business card in there if I wanted to, and that'll work as well. With that good, I just glued my spacer onto that and cut away the excess, giving me the panel that I need. Then I went in with my white paint just to make that page effect look right on the edges. I think this looks good. It looks like just another stack of pages, so it works out perfectly. So with that, I actually know the height of my page block that I have, which means I know how wide to make the spine of this thing. So I just cut out another piece of wood that's the same width and length as my page block. Cool, so at this point I have the 2 panels that are gonna be the covers of the book and the spine. In order to keep those all together though, while I stick everything like in place, I just busted out some of this pretty colored paper here. From there, I simply added some of this Tanner's Bond double-sided tape to the back of my blocks and carefully stuck them in place. This stuff is incredibly strong. So I'm not worried about the paper ever coming detached from this. If it does, it will have to tear, which is roughly the same thing it would do if it was glued down anyway, so I'm not worried about it. You'll see though I used a ruler to make sure these stayed perfectly in line, and also left about 1/8 of an inch gap between the spine and the covers. This is going to make it so it can actually close on itself like so. And with the page block in there, oh my god, it's looking so good. That is looking like a book. Now in order to make sure everything lands within those covers exactly where I want them to, I first added some masking tape to the front of it to make sure that the top and bottom line up exactly where I want them. Then I added some more of that Tanner's Bond tape to both sides of that page block and carefully positioned the first side in place. Once I was happy with where that was and I pushed it down to make my permanent seal, I just flipped it over, removed the paper from the tape there, and carefully closed the book so everything lined up exactly where I wanted it. And look at this, it looks just like a little book. Oh my god. There's just sometimes in like a project where you're like, that's exactly what I was going for. That's this moment. Really, really happy about that. But I don't want to rely on the Tanner's Bond tape for this part because I'm going to be pulling the phone in and out. It's sticking out proud so it can get caught on things. That I'm afraid will rip off. So in order to stop that from happening, I just use my drill to go through all the pieces and then send some rivets inside to hold it in place. This makes everything one unit so it'll never break on me. For one last little touch, I added this ribbon locked in with one more rivet, which is gonna act as my method to actually get my phone out. I told you before, it fits so snugly, I actually have to come from the back and poke it out, but now I can't do that. So like, if I put my phone in there, I think that's just where it lives now. I wouldn't be able to get it out. Using this ribbon, I can just kind of pull on the ribbon and it comes out. And besides, it looks like an adorable little bookmark now, which, I mean, that's awesome. It looks great. All right, now comes the final part where we really sell this thing as a book. I want to wrap the whole thing in some leather. But I also wanted to add, you know when you have like one of those old tomes or something like that, you can see the rope that was used to bind them basically through the spine. It leaves these little ridges. So to make that happen, I'm actually just going to use some of this leather cordage here. All I do is cut some strips about 3 inches long, and then use my knife to scythe about 1 inch of it down on either side. Scything is just kind of removing that top material to thin out the leather. And you basically want it to disappear into nothing so that it doesn't show through your book. From there, all I had to do was add some contact cement to where those little bands would go, and then lock those in place, really pushing down on those tapered edges so they disappeared into nothing. For the actual cover, I'm just using some more 2-ounce leather that I first treat with some neat's foot oil, because I just think that makes the dye take a little bit more evenly. And for this dye, I'm using this really nice Kelly green. Once the dye's all dried, I tightly wrapped it around my book and then marked where all the covers land. You'll notice I'm doing this while the book is closed because it being closed takes up more space than when it's open. If you just kind of lay the book down and you mark it that way, when you go to close it, it's actually going to be too tight. It's not going to go like past here. Now with that all marked out, I just cut it about 1/2 of an inch larger around all the sides, just to give myself a little bit of extra room. It was in this moment I had a rare moment of thinking into the future and realizing I need a way to keep this thing shut. I don't want it to just be a regular book, I want it to be closed so my phone doesn't fall out, because it isn't just a book. So to make that happen, I just cut this little strap here, which is just long enough to go around the book and cover about 3/4 into the front. I decided to attach this to the cover by using some glue and also these little things here that are called spots. They come in a bunch of different shapes. Some look like pyramidal spikes, some are rounded like this one, but all of them have these little sharp feet that basically act as staples. You just stick them through your piece and then fold those little legs in. I could have used rivets, but I thought the spots looked cooler, to be honest with you, so that's what I went with. On the other side of the cover, about 1 inch past where like the edge of the cover would end up, I simply put in one of these Sam Brown buttons here to act as my closure. With that figured out, I just slathered contact adhesive all over the covers of my book and the back of my leather. Then carefully placed my book onto my leather, keeping it tight as I rolled the whole thing over, securing it in place. From there, I used a bone folder to really work around those little ridges I put in the spine and bring them out to the front, which really came out good. That sells it. I'm so happy I went for it. With that secure, I just went ahead and cut away any of that excess leather that was hanging over the sides. Now, if I had to do it again, I probably would have left the leather a little bit bigger than I had cut it originally, and then trimmed it down so that I could fit it over the sides of the book like you would do with a normal book. Like you wouldn't stop at the cover and cut, you'd actually fold that leather over the sides and glue that into place. Only reason I did it is because I cut it a little bit too thin and I didn't put the book like straight enough so it wouldn't have folded over evenly all around it, and that would have driven me more crazy. So that's why. But to make up for it, I just hit the edges with this brown edge coat, which I still think look pretty good. Though I did hate this space right here. Right where that spine kind of connects through, you had those big holes. Hated that, didn't like that at all. So to get around that, I actually just took these 2 pieces of cordage here and bound them together with some thread, using a needle at the end to really hold it in place. I made 2 of these, one for each end. Then I just stuck the legs into those little holes and used contact adhesive to secure them to the tops of the spine, which I think gave it a really kind of classy look. I liked how that came out. Could have been better, like if you use actual bookbinding techniques, you can make that part that is usually on the top of a book. But I thought this was a pretty good solution to mime that type of thing, right? Good enough for me. I think it's great. Now, it's just one last little detail. I wanted to add something to the cover of it just to add some interest. So to do this, I decided to use some of this embossing powder that I got from Michael's. And to apply it, I'm using this skilltree stamp that I made with my laser. To apply it, it's actually dead easy. You just kind of stamp into the adhesive, position it where you want it to be, and then cover it with the embossing powder. After you shake off all the excess, you'll be left with your image in the embossing powder, like those kindergarten projects with glitter and glue. Just as satisfying now as it was then, I swear. Now, at this point, I can see that the stamp didn't sit perfectly on it because it's like a hard plastic stamp and is made more for embossing into leather. But I'm okay with that. Like, I haven't actually set this embossing, so I could wipe it away and try again. But I want this to look kind of old. I want my book to look a little rustic. So I'm okay with the little design on the surface being faded and worn. So having made that decision, I just hit it with the heat gun, which melts that embossing powder and sets it into place. And that actually looks really, really cool. And check this little sucker out. This looks like a book, right? It even feels like a book. It's got a good weight to it. You see little pages in it and stuff. It, like, by all the clues you would get, that is a book. That is fantastic. Even if it looks like I'm reading, looks like I'm intellectual somehow, I'm just watching YouTube. Look at that. Look at how cool that is. And again, I just push on the side here, so you can see it. It turns right on. I love that. I love that. It just kind of worked out that I could just squeeze the sides, turn it on. I can even like use the volume keys through it. That is awesome. I love this thing. I am legitimately going to use this on my adventures. I think it's great. And also, it really protects my phone. Like, this is the most beefy phone case I think I've ever had. I think this came out great, but I'd love to hear your ideas. How would you solve this particular problem? Or are there other things you'd like to hide that you have a cool idea for? Let me know down in the comment section below. Now, if you like this project or our channel in general, why don't you give us some of that like it love, and don't forget to subscribe. Not only will it let you know when we release new content, but it really helps out the channel too. Also, share it. If you have somebody in your life you think would enjoy this project, it'd be cool if you shared it along with them. All right, I'm out of here. I got a lot of reading my book to do. In the meantime, though, keep leveling up, you. You made it to the end screen. YouTube loves it when you do that. It's a fantastic way to support this channel. Another fantastic way to support this channel is by joining these people's noble ranks. These are our Patreon members, and we can't do this without them. We have an extra special thank you, by the way, to our newest Grand Master tier Patreon, Ghetto Medic. Ghetto Medic, thanks to your ghetto medical practices, we are able to keep this ship afloat, and we super appreciate it. Special thank you to our other Grand Master tier Patreon members, Just a Guy from the Southwest, Wild Fox 99, Froggy, Dragon Design, and Yuri Satro. You are the pantheon of our channel. Cannot express how much we appreciate you. Thank you so much. If you like what we do here and want to support us, consider joining our Patreon. Link in the description below. Otherwise, you just click on one of these videos YouTube thinks you'd like, and that actually helps out a lot too. You know, if you guys send me messages, technically it shows up in my book. I think that makes you an author. I'm just saying, add that to your resume. That's pretty neat.